Hi everyone, this is the Epson V700. There's two of them located here in the digital lab, and we'll be using them to scan our cyanotypes, anthotypes, and chlorophyll prints. What we have to do first is just turn the scanner on, and you do that by pressing the power button, which is located on the front bottom left corner of the scanner. What you want to do now is make sure that the scanner has the backing cover to cover the top side of the scanner. It is rectangular and has a foamy white piece attached to it. If it's not in the scanner, it's located on the racks behind the scanners. It slides into 4 little grooves that hold up the scanner backing and will keep it in place. Next, we can put our cyanotype that we want to scan on the flatbed face down on the glass. Once you do that, you can gently close the scanner. Alright, so we've got our scanner turned on, we've got our image on the flatbed, and now we can move on to scanning. So there's a few ways to get started. You can click the view scan icon at the bottom on the little taskbar. We can go up to the magnifying glass, which is our spotlight search, or we can just hit Command Spacebar and then type in view scan. View scan is spelled V-U-E scan, so you can just go ahead and click on that. That's going to open up our software, and here once we open it, it may ask you to update. If it does, just click remind me later. I've been trying to keep up with it, but they keep publishing new updates every week, so it's kind of hard to keep track. So remind me later. Okay, so options, we always want to be in professional. Task scan the file. Our source should have Perfection V700 on it. If it doesn't, you may need to turn the scanner on and restart the software, or restart the computer and the scanner at the same time. Mode, we want flatbed. Media, color, media size, maximum. Bits per pixel, because we're scanning in color, we need it 24-bit RGB. Preview resolution, we want to keep it on the lower end. And scan resolution, you probably want to start at 600 or 800. You may want to do bigger so that you can get a bigger scan. Next things that we want to do is make sure that we set up a folder on our either hard drive or on our desktop. And we're just going to go ahead and make a new folder. All right, and then down here on the TIFF file name, you can change it to any sort of naming convention. I really like this one because it does year, month, day, and then sequence of numbers. Next thing we want to move to is the filter tab. Make sure these things are off. We want to go to color. I've had a lot of really great success with this auto levels, but if you're having any trouble, what you can do is turn it off by hitting none or going to neutral. I think usually auto levels or none is usually the best way. Make sure our output color space is Adobe RGB. And then when we go to output, here's our destination. We want a TIFF file, we want TIFF compression off, and we want the TIFF profile checked. All right, one other thing that's really important is this image and graph black and white. So it gives us a little histogram once we hit our preview. So we'll do that right now. It may take a little while. Down here, it's going to tell you warm up and your percentage of the task that it's doing. So once you hit preview, it's going to bring up a little marquee that then you can go ahead and move around. And we want to just give ourselves enough space so that we can crop it later in case we need to rotate it or anything. So I always give myself like maybe a 1/4 inch on each side, somewhere around there. And here, so if we go back to the color area, here's our histogram and here's our black and white curve graph. All right, so if we come into the scanner and this isn't opened, sometimes it may default to having this white point a little lower. This green is showing up because pixel colors is checked, so that's really important to have checked. Anything that's green right here means it's going to be blown out and there's going to be no information, which is bad, right? So we need to move this endpoint over until we see it no more, right? Auto levels may show it, it may not show it. So sometimes you may have to move between auto levels and none for it to completely go away. And then our left shadow point is all the way to the left, right? So I'll show you what happens if it lets me move it. We start to lose information. So everything that's blue there is going to be blown out in the shadow side, right? So we're going to be losing information. So make sure your left point is all the way to the left and your right point is all the way to the right. All right, and then down here it gives us a preview size of what our image is going to be, our size. So at 600 dpi, which it tells us down here 600 dpi, it's going to be 100 megabytes, which is, I think, a reasonable size. I think this one is about 5.5 by 7 inches. So if we did 100 megabytes for that, that's pretty good. You can always scan more, but I wouldn't scan any less. You want to have substantial files for yourself and for turning in to me. But I think that's probably the best place to start. So once you got all those settings set up, we can hit scan. If you have a really curly print that you're scanning, what you can do is just rest your hand on the top of the scanner so it compresses it down a little bit more while it scans. And then we can click scan. And it shouldn't take super long. So it has a status bar at the bottom again. It says warm up and then scan, and it gives you a percentage. And then once we are done, we can take a look at it. All right, so you always want to make sure you take a look at it after it scans, just to make sure it came out okay. So here we go, and then we can open it in Photoshop, or we can just preview it on here. All right, so I think that looks pretty good. We can rotate it here if it lets us. There we go. So I think that looks pretty good, and it matches our original pretty well. The color may be a little off, but I think it's a pretty good representation of what we want. So that's basically it. I'm sorry this took so long to get to you, but I'm glad I finally did it, and I hope this helps. Again, this applies for anything that you want to scan. It's not just these images, right? This is for anything in the future, but for our class and for our sake, then we'll want to scan our images this way. Once we get to bigger things, then we may have to scan things a little differently, but for the time being, I think this is a really good workflow. All right, awesome. I'll see you in class. Take it easy and have a good day.